That was a very warm introduction. I want to thank everybody for allowing me to do this presentation today. My name is Muhammad Shafiq Ali, by the way, Mr. Tariq, not Shafiq Muhammad Ali.
Thank you.
Good friend. My presentation will be, for my presentation today, I'll be utilizing the Quran. And the reason why I'm utilizing the Quran in this discussion is because it's the universally accepted book among the Muslims. Although among the Muslims we have differences. You know, you have your schools of thought, and you have these different books and things that they require you to study. Well, here today, we're going to find out the truth of the matter. Should you be following Quran alone, or should you be following Quran, Hadith, and Sunnah? So, to begin my presentation, I'd like to begin with this verse here. And this is my intention of doing this talk, is to remind my brothers and sisters. Because Allah says in the Quran, chapter 51, verse 55, and remind to all those who listen, for surely reminder profits the believer. And this word reminding comes from the verb dhakara, which is al-dhikr. You see? And al-dhikr here, Dictionary of Quran, you can find that Dictionary of Quran, page 189C, is to remember, to admonish, to bear in mind, and reminding a believer is a means of exaltation. The Quran exalts you. So I'm going to begin my talk with one verse from the Quran, which condemns all those who do not follow the truth, and all those who attribute lies, write the book with their own hand, say it's from Allah, and bring forth any kind of evidence saying that it's guidance other than the guidance of Allah. And I'm going to demonstrate that by contrasting the Quran with a rule of law from Sahih Bukhari, which Muslims around the world consider one of their top, I would say, law books, or doing the sayings of the Prophet. And it's supposed to be Sahih, sound. This word sound, okay? So I'm going to say here, at this juncture, and you're going to see this manifest itself throughout my talk. Who is then more unjust than him who gives a lie, forges a lie against Allah, or gives the lie to his ayats? You see? Surely the guilty will never succeed. So evidently the guilty must be the people that are doing this. So today we're going to find out who the guilty is. So today I will be utilizing the Quran, the whole Quran, and nothing but the Quran. And Allah has said in the Quran, and surely it is the certain truth. And the reason why I have this la here, or Allah has put this la here, because it is an emphasis, to give it more flavor. This is like, and surely it is the certain truth. Yakin, to be sure, something that is obvious. That is obvious. The truth is obvious. Al-Haq, this is what we're talking about, the truth, which is one of Allah's attributes. And it happens also, just on the face of it, to be the absolute truth, the infinite truth, because this is an indefinite article. Al, definite article, you see? And al-haq is a fact, authentic, the truth, and something that is a duty, and it's a duty that's incumbent upon every human being to stand for the truth. This is what Allah enjoins on us. So I want to find out now, and I want to demonstrate where the origin of this truth comes from. Do we get the truth from anywhere? Do we get the truth from our own minds? Do we make our own suggestions, our own conclusions on what the truth and what falsehood is? No, I say Allah gives us all of this in the guidance. So when you talk about the origin of the truth, in Quran chapter 22, verse 62, it says, that is because Allah He is the truth. Allah is the truth. And as we know, Allah has no beginning. He's the first without beginning and the last without ending. He's eternal. He's Samad. So that gives you the impression here, and these are verses that you can look, you can see that will give you his 57:3, Quran 55:26, where it says, everything on it passes away, but the person I Lord endures forever. So that's the internal, speaking, everything on the earth, everything living on the earth passes away, and the person of the Lord, person of Allah, endures forever. And so when you speak of, oh wait a minute, let me just step back here, because this verse is very important. And I kind of skimmed over it. Sorry. This verse is very important. This will basically show you, this verse here, if you follow the instruction of Allah by pondering the verses, you see, this verse here, that is because Allah is the truth. He is the absolute truth. And then it says, and that which they call on besides Allah, that is batil. That is falsehood. You see? So now, when you look at the truth, you see, in terms of what the truth is Allah, so anything other than Allah, or anything that other than Allah, has to be the falsehood. It has to be the falsehood. And this is what this verse is indicating. So if Allah gives you the truth, anything else that's other than this truth is falsehood. And you're going to see that today. You're going to see that today. And why are you going to see that today? Because if Allah is the truth and He's eternal, then His words have to be a truth. And they have to be eternal. And you will not find no changing in Allah's words. That's in the Quran 18:27. There's no altering the purpose of Allah's words. So when we talk about Hadith and Sunnah, when we talk about Fiqh, when we talk about these different names, Allah speaks about it in the Quran. He speaks about these things in the Quran. You see? And He gives you the truth, the al-haq, the truth of their meaning. You see? Because Allah says here, and Allah will establish the truth by His words, though the guilty be adverse. Now we just saw that in another verse about the guilty. So what is the guilty being adverse about? You see? They being adverse about this truth. Because Allah has said in the Quran, most people hate the truth. Most people hate the truth. They don't want the truth. Okay? They want Allah and. Quran and. Just like it says in chapter 40, verse 12. When Allah alone was mentioned, you disbelieved. But when associates were given to Him, you believe. And you're going to see the associates in the form of Sahiba, Bukhari, Abu Huraira. You're going to see these other gods. So Allah says here, He will establish the truth by His words. So you're going to see with this contrast that I'm doing between the Quran and Hadith, that this truth will be established. You'll see it clearly. It's going to be simple. It's nothing complicated. You don't need to understand the Arabic to understand it. You don't need a scholar, mufti, or anything to understand it. You see, every man has a brain, and Allah has given him the faculties of hearing, sight, and intellect to deal with this kind of information and make that decision. And this truth here, Allah says that He blots out falsehood and confirms the truth of any matter that He portrays to us or has revealed to us. He blots out that falsehood with the truth, and you can have these verses here, chapter 42, 24, and also 47, 28. Now, we as Muslims, all of us want to call ourselves believers. Believers. You see, believers. We don't want to start at the beginning. We just want to jump and be believers. So, I just want to bring to your attention that Allah has said, because Allah is the truth, His word is the truth, His word establishes the truth. So this is His word that He gives you. And He gives you a description in these two verses of a believer and a disbeliever. And I wanted to set forth this precedent before I went into my contrast, so that you can see and be convinced of this truth. You see? And so here, when we're talking about believers in terms of Muslims, it says here, believers follow this truth that was revealed or wahi to Muhammad. And the verses go as such. And those who believe and do good and believe in that which has been revealed to Muhammad, and it is the truth, al-haq, from their Lord. He will remove their evil from them and improve their condition. That is because those who believe follow falsehood. So now when you take, and those who, that is because those who disbelieve follow falsehood, and those who believe follow the truth from their Lord. This does Allah set forth this description for men. So it's clear here. So this is why I chose the Quran for this presentation, because it's universally accepted by Muslims throughout the world as the truth of Allah. So now if they, once I do the contrast and they go against this, then you know they not only they're attributing a lie to Allah, but they also going to be attributing a lie to His messages. And you're going to see this today. Now, Allah, He puts forth a question for humanity. In Quran chapter 10, verse 32. He asked a question, and this is a question for you to answer. It's not just put here for for the sake of decoration or whatever, you know, so you can look at it, recite like you're reciting a song book or something. This is put here asking you a question so that you can ponder. And it says, such then is Allah, the true Lord. And what is there after the truth but the law? They say error, but the Arabic word is the law, which means astray, which means you're off course. So I'm utilizing the Quran again, to demonstrate its purpose in, or I should say, to demonstrate how the Quran will blot out truth. Blot out falsehood. The Quran is going to blot out falsehood. Allah says He hurls the Quran for the truth at falsehood and knocks out his brains. They have several verses that you can see throughout the Quran that demonstrate this and the truth of the Quran, if in fact you are submitting to Allah and His word. So now let's now at this juncture, and I hope everyone understood where I was coming from in terms of truth, and I hope I did some kind of clarity to it, okay? Where you can see through the verses of the Quran that the origin of the truth comes from Allah. He's the truth Himself. Why? Because He's the first and the last, He's eternal. And everything else besides Allah is His creation. So the truth of the matter is with Allah, with everything. Number two, He's established this truth for us with His words. His words are the Quran. His words are the Quran. And the Quran has been standing for 1460 years. You know, even scientists today are finding out that this Quran has written things in science and nature and geology and stuff like that we're just finding out now. Just finding out now. So let us now just, before I go too long, let us now just contrast this Quran with a rule of law from Sahih Bukhari. And that rule of law will be zina, and the punishment for zina. Zina is what they call illegal sexual intercourse. That means any form of sexual intercourse that's not done in the proper manner, or you're not married, will be illegal. Whether it be anything. Anything. Okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to contrast this Quran with the rule of law from Sahih Bukhari, volume 9, book 91, number 365. So the title will be Quran alone versus the associates. Or Tawheed versus Shirk. Quran alone versus Hadith and Sunnah, or Tawheed versus Shirk. So I'm going to ask the audience here at this juncture, what do you understand this verse to be meaning? This is for the Muslims. I'm putting this verse here for the Muslims who believe in Hadith and Sunnah and deny the fact that they think that they are not mushriks. Not mushriks. 2262 says the same thing, and this verse will say the same thing also. This is a command to Muhammad and a command to us. Follow what is revealed, wahi, to you from your Lord. There is no God but He, and turn away from the mushrikeen. So what is happening here? What is happening here with this verse? What kind of instruction is being given to the Muslims here? It's very clear. Number one, follow what is revealed to you from your Lord. Number two, there's no God but He. Right? So when you say follow what is revealed to you from your Lord, this would indicate some type of service. So Allah has said in Quran 51:56 that He created all the men and all the jinn to serve Him. So this would clear up this verse right here. When you're following what is revealed from Allah, you're performing a service. You're serving your Lord by obeying His commandments. And to turn away from the mushrikeen, these are the people who won't do this, who will not do this at all. The only time that they are happy is when they bring their associates. This is what mushrikeen means. It comes from the word shirk, which means sharing, partnering with Allah in His authority, in His kingdom. You see? Which is a grave offense in the sight of Allah, because Allah says He forgives all the sins, even except for shirk. He even tells the person that has been prodigal to his soul, never despair of the mercy of Allah, because He'll take care of you. Why? Because all you have to do is change your condition, and He'll improve your condition. So the question here, what exactly was revealed to Muhammad from Allah? Was it Quran, Hadith and Sunnah, or was it the Quran alone? And also, who according to this verse are the mushriks? Well, you can just see the mushriks are those that can't do this. Follow Quran alone. Follow what is revealed to them. They must have something with the revelation in order for them to be happy. Well, let's see what Muhammad actually followed. So here in this verse, Quran chapter 6:19, we have a clear indication here. Why? Because it says in this verse here, say, who, tell them, what thing is weightiest in testimony? Or what is the greater shahada? Akbaru shahada. The akbaru shahada. The greatest testimony that you can make. So here, the message of Allah, Allah tells him, tell him this. Because we know that Muhammad didn't speak out of desire. He didn't speak of himself in the capacity of a messenger. Whatever he heard, that shall he speak. So that is what he spoke. So it says here, Allah has Muhammad, the messenger, saying, Allah is a witness between me and you. He's calling Allah to witness that this Quran, Al-Quran, the recital of the book, has been wahi to me. That with it, bihi, with it. If anybody knows Arabic, I'm not that versed in Arabic grammar, I'm like a layman, but I know enough to know that bihi means with it. So it doesn't say with Quran and other books. It doesn't say, nothing is added on the Quran. No Quran and. 2262, Allah is the truth. What is after Allah but falsehood? There's no Allah and. There's no Allah and nothing. There's no Quran and nothing. And I'm letting y'all know this now. This is Shafiq, and I submit myself to the Lord of the worlds, and I want everyone to know, those who know me and to those that don't know me, that La ilaha illallah aslamtu rabbil alameen. I just wanted to put that on camera for future reference. And I'm going to get back to this 619. I'm kind of getting the Jones now. The Quran has been revealed to me that I may warn you with it, not with anything else, and whomsoever reaches. Whomsoever it reaches. The Quran is still reaching people today, and the messenger is dead. So the Quran has become the messenger now. It says, do you really bear witness that there are other gods with Allah? What are these other gods? So just for a side note, for anybody that wants, if you read 1035, Allah will tell you who your associate gods are. The ones you count on to guide you for the truth. When you know that Allah is more worthy to guide to the truth. You're taking something that's infinite, and you're taking something that's not infinite. That's a finite object. And the finite object is challenging the infinite. And they're producing a lot of, what I would say, bad karma throughout the world. They're misleading a lot of people. So it's like the reverse, like Allah says in the Quran, if you save a soul, it's like you saved all of mankind. So if you destroy a soul, what is that? So anyway, let's get back to this verse. It says here, Allah is witness between me and you, and this Quran, the Quran, Al-Quran, has been revealed to me that with it I may warn you and whomsoever it reaches. Do you really bear witness that there's other gods with Allah? Say, I bear not witness, He is only one God, and surely I am innocent of that which you set up with Him. This is what the Prophet said. So Allah has came along in the Quran also, because He always verifies and supports and gives the truth to you. He comes by and says in chapter 2, verse 23, He says, if you're in doubt to this, if you're in doubt as to that which we revealed to our servant, then you produce a surah like it. Hadith and Sunnah is not a surah. No way, shape, or form. And also, in Quran chapter 43, it speaks about hold fast. As a matter of fact, excuse me one minute, I should have took this out before. As a matter of fact, I think this 43 is kind of important, and I want to read it to you. And it says here, it says, hold fast to that which has been revealed to thee. Surely thou, this is in conjunction with that 6107 that I just read. Follow what is revealed to you from your Lord. And this is instruction to the prophet, a command to the messenger. And it says here, hold fast to that which has been revealed to thee. Surely thou art on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Surely thou art on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. And we as Muslims want to be on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, because Allah is upon the Sirat al-Mustaqim. And this is where we want to return to. This is where we want to go. We want to see the faith, so to speak. We want to be in the presence of our Lord at the end of all of this. So Allah says, surely those who are successful will purify it, and those are losers, speaking of the soul, those who are losers who corrupt it. And the only way you can corrupt it, Allah says, is by associating partners, disobeying Allah, being rebellious, unjust. So now, here's the contrast. Here's going to be the contrast, the Quran, the rule of law, fornication. In the Quran, chapter 24, verse 2, Allah has said there, and this is called the law relating to adultery. You know, as Muslims, some of us, we hold on to certain beliefs and think that they're true. And we don't take the time to verify its source or I think Tariq passed out there for a minute. and they don't try to verify if the origin is from Allah. Because guidance only comes from Allah. It doesn't come from nowhere else. Man's guidance, his salvation, comes from God. So anyway, let's get to the law here. 24:2. And I'd like to read this first verse to just put a little emphasis on it, if it does, if it doesn't, for the individual, but it does for me. It says, this is a chapter which we have revealed and made obligatory, because brothers always want to say this is far. When it comes to Hadith and Sunnah, they always want to say this is hard for you to do. Well, Allah is describing the punishment for adultery as hard in this verse. Okay? For the adulteress and adulterer, flog them each with 100 stripes, and let not pity for them detain you from obedience to Allah if you believe in Allah on the last day. And let a party of the believers witness their chastisement. Again it says, the adulteress and adulterer, flog them each of them with 100 stripes, and let not pity for them detain you from obedience to Allah, if you believe in Allah on the last day. So Allah is telling you right here, for the believers, to keep this law. This law is to be kept. No changing in Allah's words, 1827 of the Quran. You'll find no alteration in His words. This is eternal. This punishment is for eternal. 1694, Allah's not going to forget. 638, everything is in this book. Quran 638, everything is in this book that's necessary for your salvation, including the laws, the do's, the don'ts, and everything. This is what guidance is. If a person is guiding you, he has to know all the ins and outs and all the obstacles and the right way and the wrong way and everything. And who better to know that than the eternal being of Allah? So here we go. 100 stripes now. And even in Quran chapter 4 verse 25, the punishment for a free believing maiden is half. Well, let's see what the Hadith and Sunnah say about punishment for death. And let's see the lie that they attribute to the Messenger of Allah. And let's see the lie that they attribute to the ayats. You see? And then you'll know who the mushrikeen are. Because it's almost 1.5 billion. The biggest ideology package on the world. In the world. Hadith and Sunnah. Hadith and Sunnah, other gods? Is that other gods? That's the question you need to answer. Is Hadith and Sunnah other gods? So here's the Hadith. Sahih Bukhari, volume 9, book 91. Hadith number 365. Narrated Abu Hurairah. Keep in mind now, 1736. Right? You're not supposed to be pursuing anything unless you have ascertained it to be the truth. And that's the opposite of tabi'ah, takfu. Follow what is revealed to you from your Lord, tabi'ah, which means to be in sync with, to imitate, to be like. Do what you see me do. And we know in 10:15 that the Messenger of Allah only followed revelation. So Abu Hurairah, do you know him? Can you bear witness to this? To bear witness, Shahida, you have to be present. Can you bear witness to Abu Hurairah? So he says, while we were sitting with Allah's apostle, a Bedouin got up and said, "O Allah's apostle, settle my case according to Allah's book, laws." Then his opponent got up and said, "O Allah's apostle, he has said the truth. Settle his case according to Allah's book and allow me to speak." He said, "My son is a laborer for this man, and he committed illegal sexual intercourse with his wife, known in Arabic as zina." Okay? I said illegal sexual intercourse because Allah says, "I sent no messenger but with the language of the people." I speak English. The Quran came to me in English. The Quran is the messenger now. So this is why I'm talking like this. He said, it said here, he went to the people. He told the prophet, he said, "I went to the people. The people told me that my son should be stoned to death." I underlined it, red, warning, mushrik, warning. "But I ransomed him with 100 sheep and a slave girl. Then I asked the religious learned people, and they told me that his wife should be stoned to death and that my son should receive 100 lashes and be sentenced to 1 year exile." Now I already read to you the law from Allah. So you already see where this thing is deviating. Not only they added associates with the law, you see, they have a lie coming out of the prophet's mouth, the messenger's mouth, which you will see. So he came to the prophet. I mean, the religious learned people said. Then I asked the religious learned people, and they told me that his wife should be stoned to death and that my son should receive 100 lashes and be sentenced to 1 year of exile. Now look at the lie. Here comes the lie. The prophet, they have the messenger. They say the prophet because really they don't understand the different, the role or the capacity of prophet and messenger. So they say the prophet said, by him in whose hands is my life, I will judge between you according to Allah's book. So he says here, as for the slave girl and the sheep, they should be returned. And as for your son, he shall receive 100 lashes, be exiled for 1 year. Is that the same punishment that Allah said here? And then he called out to Yunus, addressing a man from Bani Islam. And he said, go tomorrow morning to the wife of the man, and if she confesses, then stone her to death. So he went the next morning, the wife confessed, and he stoned her to death. They have the messenger saying this. They have the messenger saying this. The messenger would never speak against Allah. Would never speak against Allah. Question. Where, according to the book of Allah, is stoning to death mentioned as a punishment for illegal sexual intercourse? I just read the Quran chapter 24 verse 2. That's the law in the Quran. So where does it say stoning to death? So here's your associate that you added on with the law. You just added something onto the law. Allah and. Even though you sit and read a verse every day, because Ramadan just passed, you're supposed to read the whole Quran during the month of Ramadan. You didn't see the verse 2262? What is there after Allah but falsehood? So if Allah is giving you this guidance with His words that's all al-haq, and you accept it, 1.5 billion Muslims accept that the Quran is the actual word of Allah, unadulterated, but yet you add to it because you don't feel that Allah is sufficient. You don't feel that this Quran is sufficient. You see? So again, where in according to the book of Allah is stoning to death done? Stoning to death issued as a punishment for zina. So I say to you out there, all the brothers that know me, that has called me a Quran alone, one thing after another, you see, you're going to see that according to 619, the messenger of Allah was Quran alone also. Quran alone also. Because he brought Allah as a witness to a testimony, which is the greater testimony. Greater than what you're saying. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. As soon as you say that, that makes you, you're giving Muhammad the legitimacy to issue laws for you. So now you have associated partners with Allah. And Allah has said in the Quran, in 1965, whose name is worthy to go side by side with Allah? So you put Muhammad's. Because you wasn't satisfied with the Quran. You wasn't satisfied with the Quran and you wasn't satisfied with Allah. So one, you gave the lie to Allah. Who is more unjust than give the lie to Allah? Or give the lie to His ayats? You said Allah was lying because you said, no, the punishment is not 100 lashes and half for the free believing. You said the man had to be exiled 1 year. You see? 100 lashes, exile 1 year. You added something on to Allah's law in the case of the man. And as of the woman, you just totally disrespected Allah's law. You told Allah 100 lashes is not the punishment. We're going to stone this person to death and write it in our book. You know what Allah says, woe to those who write the book with their own hand and say it's from Allah. So y'all say that this hadith stuff is from Allah. Hadith Qudsi and the whole 9 yards. You see, because if Muhammad was inspired, received inspiration, revelation, all this stuff coming out of his mouth was supposed to be that. No, that's not the case. Allah taught Muhammad, Allah guided Muhammad. If you read chapter 93 in the Quran, chapter 93 verse 7, they put there that he was groping. Did we find thee groping and we showed you the way? But that word groping, did we find thee astray and we showed you the way? And if you continue reading in that surah, when you get to verse 11, it will show you that the prophet, the messenger of Allah, never recited this kind of stuff. Because he was commanded in 93:11 to hadith the nikmah of Allah. The favor of Allah. And what is that favor? That Allah has guided you. And how does he guide you? Through the Quran. So Muhammad, the messenger, he would have only hadith the Quran. He wouldn't have made this statement here that was in the hadith. And bring his backup man, Abu Hurairah, you know, he would have never done that. So I say to you here, Allah has put something for you in the Quran also, 931. They take their doctors of law and their monks as laws besides Allah, and Messiah and the Messiah, son of Mary. And you were commanded, it says in John, but when you read the Arabic, it says you were commanded that they should serve only one God. You see? There is no God but He, be He glorified from what they set up. So you see throughout this whole, I would say, Deen Allah, because y'all say the religion of Islam, I say Deen Allah, because there's no such thing as religion. In terms of Allah didn't reveal the religion, He revealed laws. And if you ponder, Allah has said there's signs in the heavens and earth, so if you ponder the heavens and earth and the people and stuff like that, you see everything follows laws and processes. Birds don't come out the tree and build nests in the ocean. Dolphins don't come out the ocean and go in the tree and build nests. Everything has a law. So Allah has prescribed a law and a way for us. He tells you that. For everybody. So it says that. And now I'm going to put this verse here. And when our clear, and this is my, I would say, concluding verse to the contrast between 24:2 of the Quran and 4:25 of the Quran and the Hadith from Sahih Bukhari I just read. It says, and when our clear messages, the Quran is Mukam and is Mubin. It's the basic fundamentals, the groundwork, and it's clear. There's no allegory about the Quran whatsoever. Allah has said He's repeated the verses so that you might understand, and He's given you every similitude and example possible so that you can reflect. This Quran is good for the layman that hasn't had no education, that can just talk and understand words, and it's for the scholar also, the scientist. You see? So here we say here, and when our clear ayats are recited to them, those clear ayats was Quran 24:2 and Quran 4:25. 100 lashes, 50 lashes. You see? Those who have no hope in the meeting with us, bring us a Quran other than this. Bring us a Quran other than this, or change it. The Prophet said, say, it is not for me to change it of my own accord. I follow nothing, naught. Some verse Quran say naught, but that means that you have right here in the Quran, Allah, whose word is the truth, saying that Muhammad said to his people, I follow nothing except, nothing except. So that means only one thing. Except what has been revealed to me, the Quran. Indeed, I fear, if I disobey my Lord, the chastisement of the great day. Now, according to this verse 10:15, stoning an adulteress, as referred to in the above hadith, must be rejected because no such punishment exists in the Quran. So if you're adding this type of punishment to the Quran, you're committing a lie to Allah and you're giving a lie to His ayats. Clear. Clear. It's clear. No problem whatsoever. And here's a supplemental verse. Commit forgery. 1773 and 75. And it says here, and surely they had a purpose to turn thee away, talking about the messenger, from from that which was revealed to thee, that thou shouldest forge against us other than that, and then they would have taken thee for a friend. So Allah is telling the messenger right there, he's telling the messenger right there that they're going to come with this hadith. They're going to come and want you to forge hadith against this message. They're going to want you to add on to that. So Allah says this, and if we had not made thee firm, thou might have thee inclined to us. You see brothers inclining towards hadith every day, slipping up and adding things onto the Quran and using their own mind. Well, see, when you're Muslim, Muslim is an Arabic word that means submit to Allah. Enter into peace, security. You see? So how can you do that? How can you enter into peace and security? How can you have no fear, no grief? How can you have just this destination complete that Allah offers you, the promise that Allah offers you, if you're not obeying or following the guidance? When you travel in the land, you bring a road map, you bring your GPS. You bring your GPS. And all the time you're looking at your GPS to see where you want to turn and stuff. But here's something as important as your soul and something important to Allah. You don't bring the Quran, your map, your daily map. How many of you read the Quran every day for at least 5 minutes to get a piece of jewel? No. You want to add something onto this. So I'm saying the people that do this are mushriks. 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 And once you accept the truth, those same mushriks who say that they have a tolerant religion, like Allah says, when you call them to Allah alone, you'll see denial on their faces and they look like they want to attack you. How many people have been attacked because they spoke about the messenger Muhammad in a wrong way or made a film about him? A whole lot. So here, this term mushrik, if you're doing anything other than the Quran alone, if you're doing anything that the messenger said, if you love Allah, follow me, Allah will love you. Well, you see here that he only followed revelation. Quran 21:45, he only warned you by revelation. If you actually read Quran 69:38 to 52, you will see Allah tells you if he had added anything onto this Quran, Allah would have seized him and cut his life vein, and none of you could have saved him. Since y'all have all this love for the messenger. You have so much love for the messenger, you don't have no love for Allah? You choose to follow something that's finite instead of something that's infinite and created everything? Who is the absolute truth? Whose words are the truth and never ending, never changing? So here, this term mushrik, and I'm going to close out with a few supplemental verses from the Quran after this. This term mushrik is chiefly determined by two factors. Two factors. I put up 3 fingers. 2 factors. My finger slipped. Sorry. 1, not following divine revelation. So you can see clearly here they didn't follow divine revelation. They didn't follow it in that hadith. And Sahih Bukhari is supposed to be the #1 hadith. The #1 in Sahih Sitta. 2, not acknowledging the absolute unity of Allah. How can you acknowledge the absolute unity of Allah when you're associating partners with Him? It's clear. I'm looking at you right in the camera. You can see me. I'm telling you this, and you know who I'm talking to. Shirk. This is what mushrik. Mushrik deals with shirk. And shirk signifies the conjunctions of 2 or more of these things in such a manner that one of them is not distinguishable from the other. This is how they get you with that blending of Quran, Hadith, and Sunnah. You have to follow the Prophet. You have to follow his Sunnah. Well, the only Sunnah is the Sunnah of Allah and the Sunnah of those who went before us. And you understand, Allah makes the truth be known by His word, so He'll tell you what Hadith means. He'll tell you what Sunnah means. He'll tell you what Salah means. He'll tell you everything. Because that's His mercy to you. He wants things easy for you. He doesn't want to cause you no difficulty. So, like I said, shirk signifies the conjunction of 2 or more in such a manner that one of them is not distinguishable from the other. In the language of the Quran, it signifies the union of 2 or more persons in one concern, i.e. man's guidance. So you have elevated Muhammad to deity status so that he can give you laws and legislate for you. And this is the lie you told. This is the lie you told. Because if you read the infinite truth, Al-Quran, you'll see that there's no Allah and. There's no Quran and. There's none of this in here. You see? There's none of this. Any beliefs or actions held and practiced by a Muslim must be approved by the Quran and supported by the Quran. We are not to follow anything blindly. Quran chapter 17 verse 36. Our actions and belief must be in agreement with the Quran at all times, except when we're asleep. At all times. So now at this juncture, I would like to read some supplemental verses from the Quran. And if anyone in the audience or out there in the video world, if you have a pen, I suggest you take some of these down and check them for yourself to see if this situation is correct. And if I made any errors in this talk or have said something that was incomplete and wrong, know that if I err, it's because of myself, and if I go right, it's because of what is revealed to me. Chapter 34, verse 50, for those who don't know. So I'm going to say it's always the Quran, the whole Quran, and nothing but the Quran. You know, like they do in court. So help me God. Allah revealed the Quran to Muhammad, and this is the supplemental verses. Allah revealed the Quran to Muhammad, his messenger, the last prophet. Quran chapter 27 verse 6. The only book that the messenger delivered to the world is the Quran, chapter 6 verse 19. The sole mission of the messenger is to deliver the message, Surah 6 verse 35. Surah 16 verse 35. We must obey Allah's messengers. Quran chapter 3 verse 31 to 32 and chapter 24 verse 56. Anyone who disobeys Allah and his messenger is a disbeliever. 72 verse 23. We have been commanded to follow the Quran alone. Chapter 7 verse 2 and 3. Chapter 17 verse 46. The Quran contains everything that we need for guidance. Chapter 16 verse 89, where Allah speaks about the Quran being fully detailed. Fully detailed. Explaining all things. Kulli shay'in. All things. All things. Okay? It says here, Allah did not leave anything out of the Quran, chapter 6 verse 38. So everything that's necessary for your guidance, your well-being, is in the Quran. Wisdom, like some Muslims want to say that this hikmah is the Sunnah of Allah. The Sunnah of the Prophet, excuse me. Well, I'm saying you're wrong again. Wisdom is in Allah's Quran. And Allah speaks about a book that's full of wisdom. Full of wisdom. Full of wisdom. And not necessarily in men's hadith. And we had a talk the other day where the sister was saying that if the hadith agrees with the Quran, no, Allah has said in 45, Allah has said in 40, it's okay. If the hadith agrees with the Quran, it's okay. No, it's not okay. In 45:6, Allah has said, after Allah and His ayats, and what hadith will you believe in? I think that answers that question. It says, wisdom is in God's Quran, not necessarily in men's hadith, 1739, 36:2. Anything that is not commanded in the Quran, Allah has left up to our minds and intelligence to decide. Chapter 5, verse 101. The Prophet Abraham was the founder of Islam and a good example for us to follow. Chapter 22:78. Chapter 2, verse 135. And chapter 6, verse 60, verse 4. Muhammad was a follower of Abraham. Chapter 3, verse 68. Chapter 16, verse 123.
We should not follow any hadith besides the Quran as a source of guidance. I just mentioned that. Quran chapter 45:6. There are those who use vain hadith to mislead people. There are those who use vain hadith to mislead people. There are those who use vain hadith to mislead people. Without knowledge. Without knowledge. That's in 31:6, Quran 31:6. We do not need fabricated hadith because the Quran is fully detailed. Chapter 12, verse 111. The best hadith is the Quran. Allah calls the Quran the Asal Hadith, a book repeating its injunctions. A book. The Quran. One book. Hadith. Asal. The only Sunnah or law is Allah's Sunnah. Chapter 33, verse 38 and 62. Chapter 35, verse 43. Those who decree religious laws never authorized by Allah, and their followers are idol worshippers. Let me say that again for those out there in video world that didn't hear. And this is Allah speaking, so you can't attribute this to me. You're not giving a lie to me, you're giving the lie to Allah. You're not calling me a liar, I'm quoting Allah's words, and you're giving the lie to Allah. It says, those who decree religious law, like 931, your monks, your doctors of law, your scholars, your muftis, your sheikhs, your imams, your wazirs, whoever you want to call them, whoever you want to call them, and their followers are idol worshippers, according to Quran 42:21. The Quran is fully detailed, not vague, like they want to say. It's allegory. You have to know the Arabic in order to understand it, and all this other stuff. Quran chapter 30 verse 28, chapter 41 verse 3. The Quran has been explained and detailed by Allah Himself. Quran chapter Surah 11 verse 1 and Quran chapter 75 verse 19. On us rests the explanation. That's what Allah says. God is the teacher of the Quran. 55:1. The Quran is easy to understand for believers, while it is impossible to understand for idol worshippers. 54:17, 22, 32, and 40. Chapter 17, verse 46 and 1857. Muhammad, the messenger, is a good example, did not accept and follow any other source besides the Quran. I gave you that in 6:19. It's also in 5:48, 49, 6:114, and like I said, 10:15. Allah guarantees the preservation of Quran, not Hadith. 15:9, 36:69, 38:87, 41:42, 43:4, 56:78. These are the chapters and verses. God's word is perfect. Like He said, chapter 5, verse 3. This deen, perfect. Word, and the deen is perfect because His word is perfect. The Quran is perfect. You will find no crookedness in the Quran whatsoever. 6:115. Those who follow conjecture are diverted. 6:112. God does not forget. 1964. He doesn't forget anything. He knows everything. He knows everything. He's closer to your own jugular vein. There's not an atom or leaf that falls that Allah does not have knowledge of it. He's all-knowing. That's His attribute. God does not run out of words. 18:109. Those who are not certain about the hereafter are not satisfied with the Quran. They want to amend it with other books. Quran chapter 10:15. So you see they amended the Quran with Hadith. Hadith. And most of the Hadith come from Persian writers. And we know, if we study history, that Persia conquered that so-called Mecca situation. Those who divide their deen into sects are not followers of Muhammad. Those who divide their deen into sects are not followers of Muhammad. Allah forbids this, to break up and divide into sects. And you can find that in chapter 6, verse 159. The complaint of the messenger in the hereafter will be about the desertion from the Quran. Chapter 25, verse 30. So I say to you, If this is in the Quran, that Li Qawmi, his people abandoned the Quran, so how all of a sudden they became the authority for the world? How did they do this? And the last one I want to say to those who associate partners with the law, chapter 67, verse 22. Chapter 67, verse 22, and I'm going to read it straight from the Quran so I don't get it wrong, to be blamed. And this is my last thing for you in my conclusion. After seeing this talk, or this contrast, I'm going to say, from the Quran, Allah has said, is then he who goes prone on his face better guided, or he who walks upright on the Sirat al-Mustaqim? And I bet you if I ask most of you what the Sirat al-Mustaqim is, you won't know. And you pray for it 5 times a day, 7 days a week. So in my conclusion, brothers, I hope that I've conveyed this message with some type of understanding, that you can see the difference in that contrast between Allah's word and the lie that's attributed to Allah. So at this juncture, I would like to bring up Tariq, a longtime friend of mine, a martial arts practitioner, and a brother that I love tremendously. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give our brother Shafiq a round of applause for that very informative and animated presentation. Well done. You'll probably forget your name wrong, but I apologize for that.